Okay, everybody. I am Titia Owens, the madre, and my daughter.
I am Chyna Elizabeth, the daughter.
And we have some very special guests with us today. So I have a very unique relationship with the lady that's sitting to my left.
Yes.
She and I have been friends for 5,422 years.
Yes.
And when I tell you she is nothing but a blessing from God, she is my sister in Christ. She is one that I can call on for wisdom, guidance, direction. She is a friend of all friends. I adore her to the utmost, and I'm so happy to have her here. And then she has a special young lady that is with her. So I'm going to let the mother say who she is first, and then we'll go from there. So who are you? You.
I am Victoria Holmes, and this is my amazing daughter, Alecia.
Hey, Alecia.
Hey, y'all.
Alecia.
Yes, ma'am.
So this woman is your mother.
Yeah.
And I just kind of shared a little bit about my relationship with her, but I want you to start off by kind of talking to us about you and your mom's relationship. We're going to dive right into that.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this because my mother told me we were going to do the show, and so I've been reflecting on our relationship. And today I said this is by far the most monumental, impactful relationship of my life. There's very little in my world that she has not shaped. And I knew that from the time that I was a small girl, that I had a very powerful mother, that I was really blessed to have this particular woman as my mom.
Wow.
Wow. That's so beautiful.
She said monumental.
Okay.
Yeah. I love that. And so the thing about that is what's so great. So just so you guys know, the title of this show is The Twist and Turns of Motherhood. The Twist and Turns of Motherhood. So to hear Alecia talk about this being a monumental moment, that blesses us, because again, you know, when you are building a relationship with your mom, there are so many different things that happen along the way. So we're just going to walk through that journey, and you guys can kind of share with us about that. So she talked about this being monumental. You share with us about your thought processes with Alecia.
I remember when I was carrying her, I reflected on the relationship that I had with my mother. I only had that relationship for 9 years. But during that 9 years, I knew that I was loved. And so when I was carrying Alecia, and she finally came, one of the things I did, I said, God, please bless me to live until my daughter is grown, because I don't want anyone to have to raise her. I want her to be under my influence and my leadership. And it's been amazing.
That's so awesome.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is.
And so you said your mom, she raised you for 9 years. So your mom passed when you were 9?
Yes, my mother passed when I was 9.
Wow.
I was in Chicago at that particular time. And then I moved to Texas, and well, the rest is history. I moved.
Okay. Okay. Well, you moved to Texas.
Right.
And then you were waiting to have a friend named Titia.
Yes, and it came.
What year did y'all meet? Do you know?
Yeah, at OCBF.
What? She said what year?
Oh, well, yeah.
It had to be 2000, probably 11, maybe 2010 too.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere in there. It was
Yes.
10 or 11, because we were both at OCBF, and I know it was maybe a year or so before I moved to Atlanta.
Right.
And that's why I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. And so Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship Church, that's the church where we were both working at. Well, I was working there, and you were doing what?
I was volunteering.
Okay.
Because at that particular time I was going through counseling, and it was recommended to me not to be alone, but to come there and volunteer.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Wonderful. Okay, so Alecia, let's go back to you. Now, are you a mom?
I am.
And how many children do you have?
I have 3.
You have 3. Ooh, what are their ages?
Right.
I have a 19-year-old daughter.
You are Tam.
Right. You
You
look so good. I feel like I have 3 kids.
So I have a 19-year-old daughter. I have a 17-year-old son and a 7year-old daughter.
Wow.
Girl, you are fine. Do you hear me?
Okay. Thank
You're
you.
walking around here with these babies and looking like you look.
Hey, that is amazing.
That is so wonderful. So tell me, what has been the greatest thing about having your mom direct you with your children?
really, because she's been there since day one, and a lot of the practices that my mother instilled in me are the way that I parent my children. Because I always tell people when I talk about my mom, because I do often, I tell people that I drank her Kool-Aid at an early age. Like, I believed in what she said. And part of it was because there she had the words, and she's your friend, so you know that she is a powerful wordsmith, but she also had the action behind it. Like, I would wake up in the middle of the night, just to go to the bathroom, and my mother would be sitting at the dining room table studying at 3:00 in the morning. That made such an impression on me. Wow. Or the first time my mother ever talked to me about cycles, I was in the first grade, something like that, and she stood me with her and had just a really serious, sober conversation. And when she did that, it made me think that I was mature enough to handle what she was saying to me. And so as I raise my children, I move in that same kind of philosophy, because what I'm doing is I'm stretching their intelligence, because someone did that to me.
Stretch the intelligence. Hashtag.
I love
Stretch.
Hashtag
the
stretch
intelligence.
the intelligence. Yes.
That's so good.
I love that.
That's so
being
good.
that you've done that with your children, how have you seen that impact your babies?
That level of impact has come within the last year. My daughter is 19, and I begged her, I said, please stay at home with me for just one more year. I'm not ready for you to go. Give me one more year just so that I can have some transition time into your adulthood. So she agreed. And in the last year, just yesterday, she came in and she said, I have the coolest parents. She said, we were sitting at my prayer rug. She said, I have a mother who does this. My father is really cool. You all, the way you talk to us out. She said, our family chemistry is so good. And so I
That's
know
amazing.
that all of those are just seeds that were planted and went into the wind of my own garden, and that were replicated because, again, I parent the way that I was parented.
That's so good.
Parented. And my mother really, again, she never talked to me like I was a child. There's a saying that I always say with my children, I'm not raising a child, I'm raising adults. And so that's how I was parented. Like, my mother knew I was going to be an adult one day, and my childhood is, and so now that my daughter is 19 and she has the vocabulary to say it, because before she couldn't articulate what all of her experiences were. But I do see the positivity, and I got some of that other part too, though. That part where you find out that your mom is not Superwoman. That part.
The reality of life.
Chyna, she said her baby said she was cool and that they had the coolest parents. How you feel about that? Her saying that about her.
Speak closer into the mic.
How you feel
True
about
time.
that? What do you want to speak to about having cool parents?
I will say you were a cool parent, but it was still very much strict. I wouldn't say she was cool in the fact of like being a friend. It was just like she was just a cool parent. Like, she knew a lot of people. She had a big personality. She was fun. She was still youthful. So it was cool in that aspect. I think in what you're saying is a little different. We didn't have that same.
You trying to minimize my cool?
I think it's just a different perspective of cool. Hers was the teaching and just the way she was raised. Your raising was great.
Okay, I receive it.
And like she said, she's gonna follow those footsteps. I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna follow those footsteps that you parented me in that way. I think I may tweak some things. Like hearing, I was thinking that when she was saying, I'm like, I'm so glad we're doing this podcast because I can hear different parents and how they, choose to raise their kids. And I love just taking the little nuggets and combining all of them and choosing to do it how I want to do
That's
it.
good, Chyna. That was a nice way to wrap that up.
Yeah, because it won't be exactly like you did it. I can definitely say that.
Okay, then, so moving right along. So, Alecia, I'm going to ask you just real quick. You mentioned the prayer rug. Tell me about that experience. What does that look like for you guys with your family?
If you walk into my living room, there's this large rug. And on the rug is everything that I use to pray with. It has my candles. It has my incense. It has the pictures of my grandmother and my great grandmother. And it is the place that is in a central location in our home. It's not tucked away because God lives centrally in our home.
Okay, then.
And that is a place where we sit and we pray, and we take it to the magic carpet.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Okay, then, for the magic carpet. Get that magic from the Lord. Okay, so listening to your daughter
Yes.
and seeing the influence that you've had on her, when you think back about raising her and the different things that you've implemented, tell me what some of the challenges may have been.
Some of the challenges with any child,
Yeah.
they don't have the maturity to understand what we're saying. So they get to a place where they think they know it all.
Okay.
And they think that
I
we're
had one of those.
older.
I think she was one too.
And we think that they think that our ideology is old time,
Yeah.
you know,
Dated. Antiquated.
Yes.
Okay.
So they think all of those things. But one of the things my grandmother used to tell me, whatever made you laugh, one day will make you cry. She used to say that apples don't fall too far from the tree. A hard head will make a soft behind.
Well, I still say that.
Yeah.
Yes. And so
Live
they
by
don't
it.
understand those things, nor did I understand those things because I took them literally. I'm thinking, hard head behind, what does that have to do with anything? You know, because I didn't have the maturity to understand it. But as I matured,
Yeah.
and as she matured, she began to understand
Yeah.
what I was saying. And there are times when she would call me, she said, Mother,
Yeah.
Azania did such and such a thing. I'm
Who
wondering.
is Azania?
Azania is my granddaughter.
Okay.
Azania did such and such a thing. Can you believe she did that? And I would tell Alecia, yes, I can. I said, you did the very same thing. She said, Mother, you're right. And the older she gets in raising her children,
Yeah.
she tells me, she said, Mother, I'm becoming more and more like you. And I do understand what you're saying.
Got it. That's so good.
So with you having a teenage daughter, has it been challenges with her being older and thinking she knows it all, and do you see more of you?
Oh no.
No?
I was way more rebellious than she is. And I think it's because she drank my Kool-Aid a lot earlier than I drank my mom's. I sipped hers. I'm like, okay, I see you. These people Kool-Aid too. But my daughter, I think she bought into the ideologies of our family a lot sooner, so we've been able to curb a lot of that, you know. And don't get me wrong, she thinks that she lives in an extremely strict environment, you know, and I'm like, girl, you know, no, you do not. I'm not strict. I'm just, what I told her, I said, I am trying to prolong your innocence. You will have the rest of your life to be without it. The rest of your life.
Okay,
Your
she was just
innocence. Come on, Alecia. Wait, let me give her some snaps.
No, that's great.
Yeah. So she, you know, and that's not to say it's been challenge free, but when I look at, you know, we are all the improvements upon the model.
Yes.
And so when I look at the improvement upon the model, she's, you know, at least 3 steps ahead of where I was. And I'm a few steps ahead of where my mother was. And Mother, you are leaps and bounds ahead of where your mother was because you're still on this planet and you're doing the work. So
Amen. That's so
Thank
good.
you.
So, Alecia, what is your background? Because you're coming with a lot of these wisdom.
Right? Are you in poetry? Do you speak? anything like that?
I do. I'm a lot of things. I'm a writer. I'm a director. I'm a dancer. I write plays, screenplays. I'm fine arts director at St. Philip's School and Community Center.
Okay, wait, tell the people about that. You do what now? What was the last thing you said?
I am the fine arts director at St. Philip's School and Community Center. It is a private school, 99% African American private school, y'all.
Wow.
In the middle of South Dallas. It's one of the most profound places that any black child in the world can be educated, and I'm very happy to be a part of the leadership team there and to help with the strategic planning of the school in the future and all that.
That's
So,
so beautiful.
Yeah.
But when I
Creative.
tell you, I'm loving listening to you speak. Just know that.
Let me tell you this about her.
Go ahead,
since
tell
we're
me. Go
talking
ahead, go
about
ahead, Mama, tell
speaking. Well, okay, growing up, she was in speech. She was in the oratory competition, and so she's always had that ability. But let me tell you what she did.
What did she do?
Okay, she was in high school. She was a senior, and so she felt like that because she had been a senior at that school since the 9th grade. She felt like that she should have been on part of the program.
Wait a minute. You saying since she had been there for 4 years?
Yeah, for 4 years.
Okay.
She should have been on the program, when they have the baccalaureate, those
Yeah.
programs.
Got it.
So the teacher decided that she was going to have someone that had not been, she had been there, 2 years?
So she's telling this story out wrong.
Okay.
I'm like trying to get the details. No, that wasn't the grade. That's not how it happened.
Oh, well, anyway, let her tell the story about the grade.
It was
Okay.
8th grade.
Oh, it was 8th grade. I think it was high school.
Okay.
But she was still graduating.
It was 8th grade. It was 8th grade graduation, and I felt as though I needed to speak to the class. I should address the class.
Okay.
And so I walked into the principal's office and I told the principal that this is what I think I should do, and they put me on the program, and I wrote a whole speech to inspire the class without anybody's. I didn't need anyone's permission.
No, remember they didn't. Because you told me, she said, "Mother, can you believe what they did? They're going to let such and such a person."
Mother, you are ruining this story. No, I did.
She's trying to go 15 steps ahead.
People. Oh, Ned, that's a blooper. No, I did the thing.
I didn't say you didn't do it. You did do it.
Yeah, but it sounded a little confusing.
because
That's
then
all.
you got me as a graduating senior, and I was hijacking the graduation.
You just hijacked the 8th grade.
I did.
That's all you did. You didn't hijack. It was 8 instead of 12.
I love it. But having that confidence and like, oh, I can do this.
Yes.
I love that. At such a young age too. 8th grade is like 12,
Yeah,
13. Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think 13. Yeah.
She has always had an independent spirit.
I love that.
Where did she get that from?
Right. I was just about to say, I can definitely see Miss Victoria in you. This is my first time meeting Alecia, but I've known Miss Victoria, and it's like spitting, not literally the same, but just the characteristics, your voice, how you talk. Oh my gosh. Oh, Miss Victoria.
And we love that. We
No, I
adore
absolutely
Miss
love it.
Victoria. And I don't call her Victoria. I call her
Victorious.
Victoria.
I don't either, but
She is absolutely victorious.
Exactly. So she knows when I call her, I'm like, "Hey, Victoria." That is my name for her because, again, Victoria has been such a blessing to me on so many levels. There's so many different situations that I have come upon where I've just needed guidance or just someone to listen. And she always is going to go to what the Lord would say or direct me in a positive manner where she reminds me of how to be directed by the Lord. And that has been such a blessing in my life, just to have that kind of friend where I know I can depend on her to do that. And,
That's awesome.
it's such a priceless relationship. So I just want you to know I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Yay.
And she talks about Alecia. I know you want to talk about me. This ain't about me.
Okay.
She was about to go in. She was about to go in.
But I want to say what she says about Alecia. Now, I haven't gotten to spend a lot of time with Alecia. Like I said, we've only seen each other really in passing. But the way I feel I know Alecia is because her mom talks about her so much. She's always sharing about the goodness of what Alecia is doing, how she feels you're raising your children, and what a great job she feels you're doing in managing your family. And always whatever's going on at your school, I always know about it. You're running something, you're putting on a production, or someone, y'all have flown in somebody from Africa or Indonesia. And y'all are having them on a panel and you are doing the interviewing. So I get to hear all these amazing things. So I just want to tell you that we're so proud of you and what you're doing. And hearing you have these older children, that is mind-blowing to me.
I would have never guessed it, girl.
And even how Victoria talks about you, she makes you appear very youthful.
Yeah.
So not because you're, it's just the way she talks about it. It sounds like she's talking about a young child that she's just enamored with. So I just want you to know that. Yeah. She speaks very highly of you. So now you can talk, but you don't have to talk about me.
Oh, well. Okay.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay. Titia has been a great inspiration in my life. When I was growing up, because of things that happened in my life, and because I asked God, to help me with certain situations, and He did not, that total faith wasn't there. What she has given me is the total faith in God. I mean, she feels like God can do anything, and the way she talks about Him, the way she expresses it, it convinced me that God can do anything.
So
and that is what she has given me, that strong faith in God.
Amen.
And that's the biggest blessing. If she don't give me nothing else, that's worth a lifetime.
I've heard that a lot from my mom, and I think that's such a beautiful thing when all your friends can attest to the same thing about you and your faith. And me being your daughter, of course, seeing it up close and personal, I can definitely agree. That's a beautiful thing, and not everybody can get that accolade. And people brag on that because it's rare. You get trials and you get tested and it kind of wavers, but you definitely stick to it. You're not,
I appreciate that.
We're going to wait on God.
But in that, I want to talk about an incident with Alecia and I. There was an incident where I don't remember all the details, but anyway, there was friction between us. It was Alecia, my son, and myself. I mean, it was big friction. I mean, it was to the point. I did not talk. Now, if I want to get back at Alecia, don't talk to her.
Yeah.
Food that eats her up.
Can I just say this happened a few years ago? This woman stopped talking to me for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it blew my mind. And I made up some reason to call her, and once she got on the phone, I just burst into tears, and because it was so traumatic. So I need some counseling people. This is recent traumas.
So we were there. All three of us were going back and forth on the phone.
Okay.
And she said, she called me first, and she said, "Mother, all I want you to do is stop and listen." She said, "The devil is attacking our family." And she said, instead of us continuing to go back and forth, I'm going to call Antonio and we're going to pray right now.
That's beautiful.
And that's exactly what we did.
Amen.
We stopped. He answered the phone and we prayed. And that got us through that moment.
That's beautiful.
That got us through that moment. And so prayer is just very, very important.
Yeah.
And I taught her that as she was growing up. And again, she returned it back to me.
That's
and
so
she
beautiful.
has used it with her children. Again, there was a situation in their family.
Yeah.
Just friction everywhere. I mean, and so she was telling me the story. She said, "Mother, I told everybody to stop. Let's go to the altar and let's pray."
Yeah. That's beautiful.
I love it. Prayer does change things.
It
Change a whole
does.
situation.
We can't make it without it. That's all I
Yeah.
know. And just to hear again the impact of that word prayer with you, with Alecia, with her children, and so on and so forth. That's the whole thing, is providing legacy. That's what
Right.
he's doing.
Absolutely.
From generation to
Absolutely.
generation. So
Absolutely.
I love hearing that you've had that kind of impact where she's now taking it and sharing it with her own children. So, Alecia, talking to moms out here and raising those 3 children, what has been the most challenging, and how did you overcome with the 3 of your children?
The most challenging for me right now is the new world that we live in. It is a world that I'm not sure the two spectrums of the generations were prepared for sure, right? Because we were raised in quote unquote analog. You know, we were the last generation to go outside and play regularly, to actually have elders that presented as elders, right? To have just a lot of those old world views.
Yeah.
And so we have children and humans now that have not had that same type of just exchange in this world, and most of their exchange is digital.
Very much so.
And their relationships are digital, their alliances are digital, and all of those things. So really, you know, I told my children, you may be that, what Erica said, the analog children in a digital world. You may be just a little weird to people, because I'm trying to raise you with old world values.
Yeah.
Because there has to be someone that still has it on this earth. We all cannot just give ourselves over into what is being presented to us in this world. So trying to get them away from devices, trying to get them outside. Really, one of the things that I have to do very consciously is forge conversation in the house. You know, because you can, there's so many options of things to do rather than talk.
Yeah.
And so I really consciously forge conversations, ask questions. How was your day? What are you thinking about this? Can we work on that? You know, getting them outside, taking them to run hills and different things like that, so that at least I know I did my part.
Yeah.
Now, how they translate that once they're out of the house, you know, that is still yet to be seen. But for me, that's one of the biggest challenges, not just in my home, but in educating children as well.
But you know, in that, you know, piggyback on what Alecia is saying, talking about the digital world.
Yeah.
Okay, a pet peeve of mine is that if I purchase you a gift, and I have told you know, Alecia this, my grandchildren would text me and say thank you. That is unacceptable. Pick up the phone and say thank you to me.
Got it.
Did I text you your gift?
Right.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
No, I did not text you your gift.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone, have communication with me.
Yeah.
Because I am your grandparent. And show me some love, give me some love. And just like I tell Alecia, teach the children to appreciate me.
Yeah.
So, you know, and in that, she has them to buy me gifts.
Yeah.
And because a lot of times we don't teach our children or to appreciate the grandchildren.
Yeah.
Because of what you were saying.
The grandparents.
I mean, the grandparents. Because of what you were saying. We're so caught up in this world of technology
Yeah.
that we forget just common sense good manners.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I remember growing up, we stayed with our grandmother in the summertime a lot of times. Before I started staying with my dad, we would stay with my grandmother, and you know, I learned so much from my grandmother, spending time with her. You know, one of the talents that I have with makeup, and I have a fetish with feet. I love doing feet. It comes from me serving my grandmother. My grandmother would say, get that nail all the way down to the white meat.
That was not passed down to me. I just want to make that known. No, ma'am.
I love
That's you.
Yeah,
the way.
yeah, because Chyna's not trying to touch nobody's feet.
At all.
I love that so much. I don't care. Feet do it for me. Like to be able to serve someone by either massaging their feet or giving them a pedicure. I enjoy that very much. But it comes from serving my grandmother. She allowed me. She taught me. I didn't know I loved it. Like at the time, I was like, huh? But when I started doing it, I saw how much joy it brought her, so it made me happy. And I find joy when I see others happy. And that was one of the things. And I hear people don't like really dealing with feet. So
That's
for me,
true.
like when I want to make someone smile, I'll call them up and say, hey, you need a foot massage? And they'll bust out laughing or say, girl, you so crazy, because they don't think that I would actually do it, but I actually will. But I'm just saying, honoring your grandparent is one of the best things. I do the same thing with my children. I made sure, like even to this day, I'm always asking them about, did you call them? Or growing up, that was something I made a priority for them, was making sure they reached out to them, make sure they tried to spend time with them when they could, but just trying to have a connection where they knew honor needed to be present when we're dealing with your grandparents or, anybody in authority, so to speak.
Right.
Would you agree with that, Chyna?
I would definitely say that. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. I should be better on my dad's side, but your mom, all the time.
But you're here with her too,
For sure.
Your grandmother,
Is in
on your
Connecticut.
father's
Makes a
side is
difference.
out of town, so
Yeah.
it's a little harder. But
Not really. I still could pick up the phone. I'm not gonna make the excuse. I should. I just don't. But with my grandmother here, I do more often than not.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So you need to work on that. That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just gonna take accountability in that instance that I should do better.
Yeah.
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 I think this was a sign for me to call my grandmother.
There you go.
There
Yeah.
you go. Mhm. Thank you guys
Someone
for
take
that.
that.
Yeah. The grandkids to call me.
But it is so important. It really is,
It
because you guys have
really
so
is.
much wisdom. For
sure.
I felt I had so much wisdom from my grandparents, both of them, my dad's mom and my mother's mom. I spent so much time with them when I was younger, and they both taught me so many different things. One grandmother dealt more with physical care and just like managing the home, and then my other grandmother just dealt with how you deal with people, how you manage business. She talked about those things a lot. So I got so many great things from them, is all I'm saying. So we definitely want to make sure that your grandkids have that time with you and you're pouring in, just again like you did with your daughter.
It's beautiful.
Chyna, what would you say, or what would you ask Alecia, being that you're thinking about having maybe 3 or more children?
3 was max.
Not more.
No, we just got to 3. Okay, we just got to 3. So let's not push it.
Okay.
I would ask though, were you sure about having kids? Okay.
But ask her why. How was she
Yeah,
sure?
why were you sure? Because
It was kind of my imprint. I knew that I would have my first child at 27, second one at 29.
wow.
I thought that was going to be it. So to have another one 10 years later was quite monumental. And what am I even doing?
Yeah, what made you
And
decide on that?
It decided on me.
Okay. Yeah.
I just rolled with it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I did, though.
Yeah.
Because 10 years later, I am far more patient. I do not have the same anxiety that I had. We parent a lot out of anxiety. And with my youngest daughter, it's just not there. Now, my 2 older children will tell me all the time, you need that anxiety back. Like, you need to get on her about certain things. They do more of the rough parenting than I do.
Got it.
Their eyes get big all the time, like, Mommy, you're gonna let her get away with that?
That's so funny.
But in that, now, like Zinzali, that's my youngest daughter's name.
Beautiful
Zinzali,
name.
oh, thank you. She got in trouble not too long ago. I did one leg of the work. Then I said, I'm gonna bring your brother and sister in here and have them talk to you. And they talked her to her spine got straight, and because they have a different connection with her. So
so good.
I'm
Spine
glad.
got straight. Hashtag your spine got straight. Go ahead.
That's so funny.
I was always sure that I wanted to be a mother, but again, because I always thought I had a great mother. I was the kid growing up. I didn't mind getting in trouble because I knew she was going to be like so super fly when she walked through the door.
Can you believe that?
So when she walked through the door, I would be like, "Oh, that's me." yes, I'm going to the principal's office. Look who's here. Yes,
Proud of your
if
mom.
I needed her to get me out of trouble, I knew that the very look that she had, she could get me out of trouble.
So
That's
funny.
wonderful.
When I talk about her and just her physical aesthetic, because what I describe my mother as a very hyper feminine woman, and I said when I was growing up, this woman never went to sleep in cotton, never.
Ooh, that
Never,
sounds
never,
like
never, 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 never.
Victorious.
Everything was silk.
Yeah.
And, the robes coming through the house, and she was just always so hyper feminine. So what happens
so true.
is when you're not that, you don't even feel right. Like I was in the bathroom the other night, and I was like messing with my hair, and I came out, and my husband was like, it was time to go to bed. He said, "You were in there getting dressed?" I had the lip gloss on. Yes, I had to. What are you talking about? If my mother came to the house right now, she would be disappointed if I'm not all the way dressed.
So much.
I love it. And so I just believe that parenting, it really, little do we know that it permeates every part of the existence. There are so many silent permissions that we are giving in the parenting. And for me, hyperfemininity was one. Another one was getting up in the middle of the night and studying if you have to. It was just, seeing her as a hard worker. And so if I see her do that, and it's that early ingrained thing, there's no way that I can't replicate that.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. So would you prefer to have your kids younger or older? Which one did you prefer?
I would say to any woman, I would say go 30.
I love that answer. Oh my gosh.
Because in your 20s, this is just my personal philosophy. You don't realize how young you are in your 20s. You're as old as you've ever been, but you're not old at all. And you are still figuring out so much of life. You just took over your life in a 10-year span. You need a little more time to get into your life before giving it over, because once you have that baby, it is done.
Yeah.
Love that.
One of the things that I did with Elise is quite interesting. She's understanding 30 now because I told her, I said, Elise, you do not have your first child until you are 30. And the reason I said because I want you to be in a financial position that you can stay at home with your child. I do not want you to have a babysitter. So it was so funny when Patrick, my son-in-law, he's an amazing man.
Hey, Patrick.
He happened to call. He happened to call. He thought that I wasn't home, and he thought that he was going to leave a message. So he calls me. He said, "Hey, mother." I said, "Hello. What you doing?" I said, "What is it, Patrick?" Well, I just want you to know your daughter's getting ready to have a baby. I had a fit.
Oh my God.
I was 27, y'all, and she had a fit. 27.
Victorious. That was God's time and not yours.
I said, Alecia, I told you that I didn't want you to have the child until 30 because I wanted you all to be in a financial position. You're not in financial. I just went on and on and on and on and on. And so anyway, it got so bad. I mean, because I would pick up the phone and just call and rant and rave. And then Alecia said I would. And then she called me. No, one day I called her and I was getting ready to say something. She said, "Mother," she said, "I am going to have this baby with or without you. And I am not going to lose this baby in behind you. So if you cannot call me and be nice to me, then don't call me at all."
Wow. That was actually good though.
I said,
Wow, yeah, it had to be said.
I said, okay. I thought about it. I said, well, I love I would love the grandchild. I don't want her to lose it. I guess I'll be nice to her.
Oh God.
So I picked up the phone and I was nice.
Oh God. Will you receive the word?
Yes.
Glory, hallelujah.
Love that.
But every once in a while, I'll say what I want to say.
Well, I mean, you gave her direction, but again, I think still she was as close to 30 as she could be before the Lord said it's time.
Right.
How long had you been married?
Ooh, that part. Yeah. So I kind of had, what they call a shotgun wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 6 months. And
Okay.
shotgun in this hand and husband.
Yeah. Love that.
We're having this baby and we're married. But I had an opportunity to have all 3 children naturally. My oldest daughter was born underwater.
Wow.
My son, he was at the birth center, and then we had to give birth to Zinzali ourselves because we couldn't even make it out of the house.
And you have been married how long?
We've been married 21 years.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That is so amazing.
So with the water birth, how was that?
It was hard actually. Because it was my first child, and I thought the way that women had babies in Hollywood is what you're supposed to do. So I was ready. I had my hair was done. I had my earrings on, and I was, screaming and crying because, this is what they did in Hollywood. And that was the hardest birth. In the second birth, the midwife said, you don't have to do all of that. And actually, when you do all of that, that makes it worse. So it was the second birth that I learned how to breathe. The third birth, I was looking for those earrings again because I was in labor. And I'm like, I got to find these earrings before I get out.
And you took a bath.
I was in the bathtub first. And I told everybody else, go outside, here I come. But I wanted to be cute for the pictures. And so I was looking for earrings, and the earrings were in the couch. And I felt that contraction, fell to the floor, and there was Zinzali's head.
Oh my God.
My husband comes upstairs. I was like, we're not going to be able to go anywhere. We got to go have this baby. 2 pushes and she was out of there.
Oh my God.
But it was, again, I had to calm my mind. As soon as I felt the head, I'm like, okay, you just go climb up in the bed and have your baby. And that's exactly
you said
what I
that
did.
so sweet.
Right.
She didn't have any. All 3 children were
No
natural.
epidural.
No epidural. All 3
So are you
children
writing
were
a book
natural.
on that?
I mean, because Jesus, I ain't even had a baby. I just can feel it already.
And the thing is that our bodies are capable of so much more.
For sure. I'm sure.
In our generation, I think it's coming back now, but in our generation, we lost so much of the women's lore that we used to have, like the majesty of our bodies and what they're capable of. We didn't know that you could have a baby. I had my children at the birth center, washed that baby, and went home. I was not in a hospital for 3 days. I had the baby, went home, and ate my favorite food.
Y'all want to hear a funny story?
Of course.
I know.
So anyway, when I was so excited when Alecia was born, that's the oldest grandchild, and Alecia knew I was, and so anyway, her going to the birthing center, that's a whole another 30-minute ordeal.
Okay.
So but anyway, so I was so excited about having Alecia, and Alecia said, and she recognized all of that. She said, "Mother, do you want to get her dressed?" And I said, "Yes." So I was so excited. We had the onesies there, and I put the onesie on, and I was just hugging her and kissing her, and I gave her back to Alecia, and Alecia felt her. She said, "Mother," she said, "you forgot to put the diaper on."
Oh, no.
You were so ready to get the baby dressed.
Oh, my God.
That's the diaper on.
So I had to go back and put the diaper on.
That is hilarious.
Victoria
You can't have
is
no baby
too
without no diaper.
excited.
Right.
Right.
We don't want that.
Oh, that's beautiful, though.
So as we're coming to a close, ladies,
No clothes. It was
I
too
know
fun.
we've had so much fun, and that's the thing about it is I so love hearing just the journeys, that the women have gone on, and to hear your story has been nothing but a blessing. But what I would like for you to do is just to share with the audience, if you could, just some nuggets, anything that you want to share about mother-daughter relationship or raising your children. What would you tell the audience?
One of the things I did when I was raising the children, I told them that mediocrity is not acceptable.
Her exact words were, mediocrity is a sin, is what she told me.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
So I've always pointed them in the direction of excellence. I don't believe in nicknames. I don't believe in calling a child stupid. I don't care what they do. Does not mean that they're stupid. I don't believe in I never did have a negative attachment to their behavior because it's just a behavior. It's a learning process.
Yeah, that's good.
Another thing I did is be in tune with the spirit because there comes a time when God is going to tell you to let them go. There was a season where Alecia, when she was very rebellious.
Yeah.
And so, in the spirit, and God said, she's borrowed. She's not yours. You've had her for 18 years. You need to return her back to me. It's time to let her go.
She's borrowed.
And I called her
That's good.
into the room and I sat her down. I said, Alecia, I said, you don't belong to me. You belong to God. You are borrowed, and it's time for me to let you go.
Wow.
I said, so you need to call one of your friends and have them to come and pick you up today. She said, what? I said, yes. Can I wait? No, today at this moment. I said, you need to have them and come and pick you up
Wow.
because I'm letting you go. In the midst of letting her go, because I was so in tune with God, I knew that she was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so her friend she called, was it David? David came to pick her up. That was the best thing I could have done because she was in a line with good friends. That's when she became a vegetarian. That's when she really got into her spirituality. That's when she began to evolve and know who she really, the person that she was designed to be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she always stayed close to me. She always stayed close to me. Another thing is when there were things that she did or beliefs, because, they're still trying to find their own identity.
Yeah.
Beliefs that they have, I may not agree with. But I knew for me to be hardcore and be 100% and say, this is wrong. And then you have that relationship with your children where you're not speaking was not beneficial, because when that happens, the devil can easily come in and do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
So what I did was I allowed her to be her, but I spoke when it was told to me to speak because I knew I still had her heart.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And so as long as I got that heart, even though she may deviate,
Yeah.
I knew that she was coming back.
Amen.
And that's very, very important. It's very important that we accept children at the stages that they are, input the positivity, but yet don't be so self-righteous that we forget
That's good.
that we went through the same stage and God is not through with us yet.
Amen. That's so
Love
good.
it.
So respond
wise.
to that.
I echo everything that she said. Mother, I just could not have designed a better human as my archetype in this life. You are good.
Thank you.
And I've always thought so. When we sat down, you said that in those 9 years, you knew what it felt like to be loved because your mother gave you that love. Because I always wonder that about her, because y'all have to have her back at another time to hear her story. Is really quite phenomenal and amazing. But I always wonder, like, how in the world did this woman love us? Right? When we really found out about our past and how we were born and all that, me and my brother were like, what? Like, how in the world did she love us like that? And what it speaks to is kind of the reason that you have us here today, about the power of the love between a mother and a daughter. It may not be but 9 years that you have to give it, but if you give it, it can penetrate through generations. Because that is what has happened. She only had 9 years with her source of maternal love. I've had 46 years now of maternal love, and it shapes it's my cradle, you know, and I make sure to provide that cradle for my children as well. And so what I will say in all of the rebelliousness that I had in this lifetime, I'm so thankful that this woman never, ever, ever, ever let me go. She just didn't. And there was nothing that I could do. And trust me, I tried. There was nothing that I could. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's that natural rebelliousness that we're born with.
Yeah.
But there was nothing that I could do that shook her foundation. She was just like, okay, and what else you got for me?
Yeah.
Now go in there and do what I said to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it was also just that you know, my mother has principles by which she stands on, and they never deviated. So they didn't deviate in her words or again in her actions. Everything I saw from her was a bona fide square. And so I would just say that, you know, the love between a mother and a daughter, as much as we think it is natural, possibly. Yeah. But it definitely has to be nurtured. And it is a relationship that you have to nurture throughout life. And you have to make space for. Yeah. And you have to give it all of its seasons. And never, ever, ever let any problem become too big where you feel like you can't talk it out and work it out. Beautiful. Amen. Even with the silent treatment.
Well,
that's so funny. I know a good thing about the silent treatment. Wow.
You do the silent treatment.
What happened, Chyna?
A few things. We don't have to get into that. I do remember though, Chris would always have to be the mediator and have
Chris is my son.
Yeah, my older brother. She would be like not trying to talk to me at all. And I was the child. I was like, okay, like, you got it. But my brother was like, y'all need to get it together. Like, y'all need to have the conversation. Y'all just need to talk it over, blah, blah, blah. Because I was being rebellious. And I was just not caring at that time. But she would not be trying to talk to me at all and was stern on it. Like, Chris would really have to talk to her and be like, no, y'all gonna have this conversation because, And I was just like, I don't care. But I'm glad we don't have that anymore. We just talk about things and, you know, work through things.
That's true.
I do remember those times. Brought up some memories. But that is so beautiful. I love y'all's relationship. This was such a beautiful show.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad y'all came on and told us we got a little glimpse of y'all lives.
I feel like we need to do a part 2.
Let's do a part 2.
So we're going to wrap this one up.
Okay.
But we're going to go right into our part 2. That's what I'm feeling led to do. How you feeling about it?
I'm so good with that.
How you feeling about it?
Oh, yes.
How you feeling about it?
I'm loving it.
Okay. So what we want people to do, we're going to end up on this one. So you clear it out first with the subscribing.
Yes, so make sure y'all just like, comment, and subscribe, and watch us on Apple. Well, listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and watch us on YouTube so you can see all our cute outfits and how fancy they look and how beautiful they are. But yeah, comment and tell us about y'all's journey with your mother and your daughter, and tell us how y'all have overcome any of your obstacles, and yeah, just come back and see us every Wednesday at 9 a.m.
Yes. And make sure you go to YouTube to watch us. She did say that every Wednesday at 9 a.m. But continue to share the videos as well. Bring your families together. Sit around and watch them. Talk about them. Discuss them. Sometimes they will start a conversation that can take you to a place of healing. Yeah. And that is our goal here, is for you to have some dialogue about these particular subjects after you hear us have the discussion. So we thank you so much for watching and tuning in. We've been sitting here with the fab-mazing Victoria and the dynamical, outstanding Alecia in the building. And so we're gonna close it out with okay then, bye.
It's supposed to be bye then.
We're gonna leave it like